Victor Galvan. Yeah. 24/7 mindset. Yeah. 24/7 mindset. Let's go. 24/7 mindset.
Welcome to the 24/7 Mindset Podcast with Victor Galvan. I'm your host, Jose Cruz, a.k.a. Tabito. And we are here today with the one and only Victor Galvan. And he is going to tell us a little bit about the 24/7 mindset.
Yes, sir. And I wanted to start by letting you guys know how I made it here to the United States at a young age. I went through a lot of hard decisions, a lot of problems in my life, and we made the hard decision to move to United States like most of the illegal people, immigrants that wanted to change their lives, that wanted to go for the American dream. But the American dream will not be the American dream if you don't push yourself, if you don't force yourself. So at the end of the day, the American dream depends on you. So folks, make sure to stay consistent, make sure to stay pushing yourself. I believe from 10 years old that I was going to be different, and here I am. And that's it. There's not much to add, so we're going to start. So at the age of 10 years old, I remember when I was very little that I was working all the time. I was looking for options, who I can help, how I can make some money. So there was a few times that, people will pay me. So before, back in my country, so you take a truck to the city and they load it with a machine. I don't remember if it was a machine. Probably they load it by hand. But anyway, so they will come to the little town and they will pay like 10 pesos for somebody to empty. So me, here I am, I'm unloading a yard of sand or a yard of stone. So I hated stone because when you unloading stone, it was harder for me to get that shovel into the stone. But anyway, so I was making about 1,000 pesos every load that I unload, so people can start mixing their loads for concrete, whatever they was doing on remodel on their house, whatever. But so that's one of the things that I remember. Plus, I remember this guy Salvador. He was the one that always trusts me to do the job, to believe on me, because at a very young age, I remember when we used to plant the seeds for the corn, and I always finish faster than anybody. So I'm planting every 2 to 3 feet, 2 seeds, 3 seeds, 2 seeds, 3 seeds. So I always emptied my bucket. That's where we kept the corn seeds. And when I finish, you put markers of the areas that you did. And he's like, "Hey, Victor, do you know that I'm going to find out what you did with the corn? It's not possible that you finish this fast." And I'm like, "No problem, but how will you know?" He's like, "We're just going to wait for rain. And as rain comes in, all this corn is going to grow and we will figure it out." So he will put markers to check me for the first time. But because there was some people that was kind of stupid, they dumped the whole bucket because they're lazy in the same spot. So you get all these corn plants on the same spot. But mine, he started noticing, after a couple months of seeing, wow, mine was more on apart, more perfect. So, and then he started trusting me with the chemicals. So when the plants was like almost 8 inches tall, we go with the first round of chemicals. So I carry a big bag and I'm boom, 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 installing the chemical next to the plant. And then we will come back and pick up all the weeds. We waited for the corn plants to get to probably about 4 to 5 foot, and then we will use a sprayer in our back to put Roundup or whatever, the chemical to kill the weeds. So before that, we have to clean it by hand. And then as you go, you gotta use fertilizer again. So we put fertilizer again to make sure the cornfields will grow nice and strong and give you big corn. So anyway, so he start trusting me, and then we wait for dry season when the corns get dry, so we can pick the corn, or we can cut the corn, so we can blend it and use it for different things. So that's where everything started. That's where I believe that the Salvador kind of trusts me, and after that, so every year he was looking for what he was gonna do so he can use me. So I tried to stay busy, but I went and asked him a couple times. I'm like, you don't got anything. So that's when I knew that he had a lot of like a pig farms and stuff like that. So he also started getting me involved on feeding the pigs, cleaning the crap out of the pigs, pushing that out, wash the areas where the pigs was sitting, and then milking the cows. And he started trusting me, so he was paying me like 2,000 pesos an hour, which it was the equivalent of probably about maybe 10, 20 cents right now.
20 cents American?
Yeah, an hour. But it was huge, man. With 20 cents, you can buy a big piece of bread and a nice soda. And then you put the soda in the bread, and it was the best thing that you can eat, man. But it was good money. So the problem is that I didn't keep the money to buy me things. I will give the money to my mom so she can buy the food and whatever so we can eat. I remember I used to pick up banana leaves. I used to pick up, they used to cut the watermelon slices, and people would eat it and then throw it away. I wait for them to throw it away so I can get whatever it was, the red that was left over. And sometimes you go into the white of the watermelon. But that's a different conversation. But it was tough. I ate out of trash. I guess I identify myself a little bit with Eric Thomas, eating out of trash. Some of the struggles that he went through, I went through. So now I understand why he's so strong. So it's same as me. I'm a very strong guy right now. I can kind of almost want to cry, but I'm very strong now. I learned a lot from my mistakes, from my problems, for everything I went. So I just keep working whatever can bring me money. So at the same time, I was mixing concrete and pouring columns. These columns was like 10 inches thick the most. So for me, they were like huge. At the age of 10, it was hard. It was impossible to mix it and pour stuff like that. I also, me and my dad used to make all the adobes for the houses of Las Tablas where I came from. So we used to mix horse crap and clay with pine needles. So you mix them together by barefoot. So I got my foot all messed up from all the pine needles. So we used to mix this one. So we made them like a 16 by 2 foot by 4 inches thick. And we got templates. We just fill it with mud and the mix that we did, and we just lay them in an area. And then we take the frame out and keep building until they dry. So it was already insulated. It was already reinforced with the pine leaves, pine needles.
Yep.
And so the insulation was the horse shit, right?
Manure,
horse manure. Okay, so, but anyway, so that's a little bit of what I did when I was 10 years old. I did not have the opportunity of spend a lot of time with the kids, go out and play with them. I did not have time to go to school, even though that my aunt was married to a teacher. But at the end of the day, I did finish 6th grade, and that's all the education I had.
So the first education you went to was 6th grade?
That's it.
And everything else you just been learning as you're going?
As I'm going, and I also learning from people that trust me, that put their faith to me, and here I am.
This is all the work you were doing in Mexico before you came to America, right?
Yep, that's it.
So when did you and your family decide that it was time to leave Mexico?
It wasn't until 1993, so 12 years later, I born in 1981. So 12 years later, my dad pulled the trigger like, we can't live like this no more. We gotta find the American dream.
It was hard to find a jobs to make a living.
Yeah, yeah. So he will come by himself. He had papers, but at that time they only know what they know. So they will go and pick. If the season was not a very good season, so they only give him like 10 boxes a day to pick instead of 20. So he was bringing very little money. So we was always struggling for money and food and everything. So, but what I think what inspired my dad is to know that if he can bring us here, we can probably get a better education. We can probably do something different than what he was doing. That's what I noticed. I know that's what he preaches right now. That he knew that we was gonna be somebody.
So you came here with your brothers, and they continued to go to school, correct?
Mhm.
But did you go to school?
So when I first came in, I came to Florida, and so we start picking oranges with mom and dad, and as we working, we get comfortable. We start making good money. We was picking up to 20 boxes of oranges a day, so that was $8 a box. So that's $80 a day, right? But we had the owner of the grove kind of stop and did not believe that they were filling that many boxes by themselves. So he's like, it's got to be something else. So he got off the truck and kind of went under the tree and spotted me under the tree, and saw that I was a young kid and told me I gotta go to school. That he didn't want to get in trouble because kids gotta go to school. So that forced me to go to school, to a middle school, but the way I was doing things that I know you can't fit here, so they end up sending me to high school, ninth grade. I spent almost 8 months in a bilingual school, and then I dropped out to go and be able to help my dad and my mom build enough money so we can qualify for the papers for the kids, which is my brothers. They you got to build enough so you can sustain on your own. The government doesn't want you to get
Get
your
welfare
papers.
and whatnot and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we work very hard, and we make the decision with mom and dad that I need to get out of school and go to work. So I went back and I started working in a nursery, planting plants, getting pots ready, soil, planting, put them in a tractor trailer, go and lay them down in the fields and stuff like that. So that's where I started working at $3.75 an hour.
How old were you?
By that time, I was 15
years old.
15 years old.
And from there, you stayed working how long?
So I got the opportunity. So I got a couple people that was telling me that in construction they pay very well. So that kind of got stuck in me. So I keep working in the nursery. Before I turned 16, I pulled the trigger. I'm like, I got to go into construction. They pay $12 an hour. Back then, for a carpenter, they pay $12. I'm like, at least if I can get paid 8. So I asked to see if I can go into construction. They're like, no, this construction is too hard, whatever. But at the end of the day, I got the opportunity to go into construction. So at the age of 15, I go into this company, Land and Water. I still remember the owners. They were pretty good people with me. They took care of me. They kind of carried me on their wing because of this gentleman, Ray Fontaine. But So what happens is I go into construction and I see the future. Like everybody was working at their pace. And I'm like, nobody's coordinating, nobody's telling what to do. Everybody wants to do whatever they want to do. It was somebody telling, hey, guys, do this. But, okay, nobody was saying, get it done by this time. I got inspection by this day, and I got concrete this day, because back then it was no phones. Or if it was a phone, it was a huge phone. The communication wasn't there. So I'm like, how can we communicate? So me, at the age of 15, I told him, hey, look, I can be the rebar leader, a rod busters, they call them. So I start tying all the rebar as city walk. That's where I went all in. So they gave me this gentleman, Jaime, to work with me and a couple other guys, and nobody listened to me, only Jaime, because he saw that I went from like $8. I think I got there like 7.45. I went from $8 to 12, and he was going up with me because I was for a raise. A raise. So we moved up very fast in the company, and I was very, very active. I was very, very trying to learn how everything is done. We was pouring color concrete, gray concrete, you name it. So I was already thinking how to do things, always going to the older people and ask them questions so I can write them down so I can understand. But this guy, Ray Fontaine, somebody told him that I was asking too many questions. So he like, hey, kiddo, I don't want you to do that no more. I was turning 16. I think I was 16 when he took me inside his truck. So he was the general superintendent, Ray Fontaine. He carried me everywhere he goes. I go with him. And he asks me questions, and I'm trying to learn English. So he's teaching me and all that stuff. So we go to job sites, and I tell him, hey, we can do this way. We can do this way. So I will give advice. And I noticed that he would pay attention and sometimes do what I was saying because of the experience that I had when I was growing up. Pouring concrete in Mexico, you got it. Over there, you got it either, you got to pour it, because if you wait a little bit, it's going to dry and you're going to lose it.
Yep.
So over here, I'm coming to, I didn't know that you got 3 hours before the concrete can get hard. I didn't know that you can put accelerator to get it dry faster, or you can put to let it dry slower. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so it was him that kind of discovered all the potential. So after that, he's like, look, I'm going to help you, but I need you to listen. So finally, I got my license. And I was driving with no license because I was working illegally. So now I'm driving from Winter Garden all the way to Christmas. It was about
45 minutes.
No, 50 minutes. Back then, it was no 408. Back then, it was no tolls or nothing like that. So you have to take 50 over there. I think it was 408, but I think it was too expensive. I cannot afford it. Yeah. So I was committed. I was never going to clubs. I was never going to do stupid things that I call them stupid now, but before I wanted to do them, right? But I was very committed. I used to drive every day, and I remember his room, the walls was yellow of how much smoke and all that stuff. I'm like, fuck, I gotta stay here. But so I was opening the doors. He understood. He stopped smoking whenever I was there. So he was teaching me drawings to go back from structure to look at the detail, from the detail, what was the final product. So you go back to the architecture. So he was just teaching me the basics, how you're gonna start and how it's gonna look. So adapting those two things together, finally I told him, I think I'm ready. So now we go back now let's go back in the conversation to City Walk. We was working on the NASCAR side because they did the river. So the Hard Rock Cafe or Hard Rock Life, it was one side, and we was doing the NASCAR side. And I remember when he came and put everybody together. Now that I was ready, I did not know why he was getting me ready, but I'm fixing to find out how my life was going to change